Welcome to CISO Learning Solutions, a division of SITECH South. This is our tips and tricks for Trimble Business Center. In this routine, we're going to be extracting LandXMLs and CSV files from AutoDesk Civil 3D files for use in Trimble Business Center. I'm the presenter, Ron Ciccarone. Thank you very much. The initial part of this tip and trick video, we'll be working in Civil 3D, showing you how to extract the XMLs, LandXML data. And the second part of it will be in Business Center, showing you how to import. So what we're going to be doing here is opening the drawing, which I already have open, and we're going to be checking some items, the settings, and then we will review the groups, make sure that they're there, the data is in the group, and then we will export that information. Now we're looking in Civil 3D. This is the site. It's a some sort of a residential plan. And the things that I recommend that when you begin this, there are some real basic settings to check on. And you have this dialog over here, and it has a prospector and settings and survey and toolbox, so on and so forth. Well, I recommend the very first thing you do when you open the drawing from the civil engineer is go to settings and then highlight the name of the drawing, right mouse click, edit the drawing settings. And it's critical to check to make sure that the units are the correct units. Civil 3D, their default template that they send out is in international foot, which is significantly different on the ground from US foot. In this case, they actually have it set up in a state plane. It doesn't need to be in a state plane. The critical issue is it set to the right units for the feet, because this unit is going to be carried in the XML. And when you bring in the Business Center is going to read the units. And regardless of the units you have set up in Trimble Business Center to import it, it is going to import it based on the units set in the XML. Now, there is a product out there called XML Notepad that's free that you can download, and this will let you open and look inside of the XML and check the items. And this may be another really quick tip and trick that we produce. But at this point, it is correct. If it wasn't, I would change it. I would make it correct to the units that we're going to be using. So in this case, they're okay. So now we're going to come back to the prospector. And the critical areas that we're going to be looking for information, number one is the point groups, the surfaces, the alignments, the pipe networks, and sometimes you have corridors. Corridors sometimes can be tough to deal with because if they have multiple surfaces like subgrades, they all come in as one surface and it's kind of messy. But the critical items are going to be these. And if I open this up, if we look down here, if I click in any of the group like all points, if nothing shows up here, even though they've got groups set aside, there are no points in here. So there won't be any points to export. However, when we go to surface, we have what I'm going to assume is existing ground and finished ground for this site. And we're definitely going to want that. And if we look at the alignments, there are several alignments in here. And hopefully when we export them and bring them into Business Center, they also include the profile within the alignment. And the last item, do we have some pipes? And it appears that we have sanitary and storm pipes. Well, I chose this particular CAD file because I knew it had information in it. So now what we're going to do is proceed to export, and I personally like to do each one individually. I believe you can do them all at one time, but I like to keep them separate. I have one XML for the alignments, one for the surfaces, and one for the pipes. So if you go up and we highlight and right mouse click, there is an option to export your LandXML. If I click on this, this is just a standard dialog. If I click OK, the key thing is, and this is true in all cases, where are you going to put it? You need to put it where you can find it. I've already downloaded them in the past, but let's just do it ourselves this time. Let's create a new folder, and we'll just give it a name, Export XMLs, and go in there, and we're going to call this CAD surfaces, and it's going to default the extension for me to XML. And if I hit save, it's done. And then I'll go to the alignments and export. Same activity. It remembers where I was, and this time I'm going to say alignments. And lastly, we'll go to the pipe networks and we'll export, and we'll say 3D pipes. So this should be exported. We'll go to the location for where this data is going to be. I've got several hard drives on my computer, so you got to walk down to the correct location. SITECH South, Triggs, and there's the files that I wanted to export, each one of my XMLs. And getting back to what we did, we went into Civil 3D, opened our DWG, we checked the unit setting, we're in the model view, prospector, so on and so forth. Now I'm going to show you a couple of other items up here about model view and turning things on, just to give you a little bit of extra information. If we go back to Civil 3D, something that I recommend that you do when you first come into Civil 3D for the project, you open your layer manager, and I recommend that you first of all unlock all your layers. Every once in a while you'll see this lock closed, and the engineer does that just to protect his data so you don't do something with it on that layer by accident. But you can unlock it. The second thing is I would thaw everything that's in the layers, and that's this column here with looks like the sunshine. And if you hit thawed, if any of them are turned off, and as you can see, there's a lot of layers here, it will turn the data on. And the last thing is going back for visibility and turning on. And I think you'll see that there's a couple of items that were not turned on that are turned on. And I like having that layer manager up on my second screen open all the time. Because I go in and turn things on and off, so on and so forth. But as you can see, I believe this was turned on. A lot of times it's data that really doesn't mean anything. And the other thing is I have the properties pane. So if I select anything, it'll tell me information about that object, very similar to Business Center. So I keep these two dialogues open all the time on my second screen. So our initial objective was to start Civil 3D, bring our drawing in, and also one other thing, I don't think I mentioned it, that I have here in the thing, is we're in model space. We do pretty much everything in model space. If there's a lot of paper space out here, I usually delete them because that's more for plotting, and it usually does not have actual critical data for the project. So we live in the model space, and we went through the settings and checked the units. We use the prospector to turn all the data on and grab the data to export, and then we look in each one of the groups to see if there was any data there. So now we're going to move on to Trimble Business Center.